Hi, everyone. I'm 10 Tampa Bay meteorologist James Gregorio, and thank you for joining me for the Sunday edition of Weather Impact Live. And again, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. Jam-packed show. We've got high temperatures. They're going to be warming to near 80 degrees or better. It is the start of meteorological spring here, which starts March 1st. And of course, we're still going to check in on that wildfire down in the Everglades. We've got some colder weather out west, but we finally have a nice warm-up. Blowtorch temperatures heading to the east, which might even lead to some flooding with some melting snow. So a lot to get to. Behind me, the shot of the St. Pete Grand Prix, looking great as well. So let's go to the maps here. Speaking of St. Pete, we'll head outside. And first and foremost, here's the story. Tampa looking good. St. Pete, that's the Grand Prix shot in the middle of your screen. And Clearwater looking awesome. 72 degrees at the moment as well. So shaping up great. Visibility, we did have a little fog earlier this morning in many locations, particularly towards Bartow and Winter Haven and in towards Lakeland. That has since eased out. We're shaping up a little bit better. We're shaping up great. There is blue sky outside. It looks fantastic. All right, Futurecast as we roll through the day today, 2 o'clock here, shaping up great. Nothing to worry about. Tons of sunshine, really looking good. 4:30 looks good as well. High temperatures making a run for near 80 degrees today. There are a few showers down by Lake Placid, perhaps at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and you can see a little of that rain moving, a little closer to Punta Gorda, in between Punta Gorda and Sarasota, but for the most part, well south of the Bay Area. And we're looking good here as we head in towards early tomorrow morning. So should be pretty nice, easy roll, pretty nice, easy start for you tomorrow. So good stuff in that regard. Monday afternoon, will we get a drifting shower or two trying to zip in our direction? That's the million-dollar question. If we were to see a stray, spotty shower, it would be very light, very spotty. Then we head in towards Tuesday morning, and you could see with that predominantly easterly flow as we head in towards Tuesday mid-morning, looking great. Another day where we feature mostly sunny skies, and that shower threat, that drifting shower threat of anything coming in off the Atlantic is diminished as well. All right, so we have a little bit of fog out there. Look at that sea fog boogieing on out. That's kind of cool. You can see it moving away from the Bay Area, which is pretty neat, as well as some cloudiness trying to move in. So you've got one batch of weather moving away from the coast, this batch here, that's basically the fog. And then you have the cloudiness sort of moving from west to east, on this line here, sort of this stalled boundary, moving south of Fort Myers here, clipping and moving over 75 and moving on over towards the I-95 corridor on the East Coast as well. So one batch moving on out, moving that way, another one moving in this direction, moving from west to east as well. So shaping up pretty well. The takeaway is that, at least in the Bay Area, we're looking even better because all of this is essentially moving out of here, which is good. And the clouds that are sort of moving in are south of Fort Myers. So none of that is really impacting us or impeding our forecast, which is great news as well. So as we expand the view here, temperature-wise, another great day developing. At the time of our stream here, right now it's about 11:04, and we've got temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s. Sarasota at 72, 73 in Venice. Clearwater, Newport Richey, temperatures in the low to mid 70s as well. So if you're heading out to the Grand Prix, it looks great. 1 o'clock, about 74, 76, in St. Pete at about 3, at 5. We're at 76 as well. So again, shaping up really nicely as we make our way through portions of the afternoon hours. And then heading in towards tonight, we're going to expand the view a little bit towards 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, those numbers dropping off into the lower 70s. And as we head towards 10 o'clock and eventually towards midnight, we're still looking at temperatures in the mid and upper 60s as well. So still very much so on that milder side. So we've dealt with the warmth, and of course the warmth is creating some issues. Let's take a live look. We're going to talk about one of the issues, although it was man-made, a man-induced live look here, man-induced perhaps fire from the live look in Alligator Alley. And you can see perhaps still some closures. We have seen diversions along Route 29 there, and of course, pretty heavy police presence as well. So if you're thinking about, what's that, Noah? 30,000 acres, again, have been burned here, and still very little or low containment here on this fire. So again, the Florida National Preserve fire continues to burn. Just please be careful. When I was talking about the man-made nature, they do believe that the fire was started by man's activities. No further word on that, whether it was intentional or unintentional. It was still started by a person, it sounds like. So again, please be very, very careful with any exposed flames because it has been dry around here, although we did get recent rain over the last couple of days, especially Friday night into Saturday. However, still dry, and we have a lot more to go. Let's take a look at the drought here. Drought monitor. This is updated on Thursday, and you can see 67% of the state, I believe, approximately, under extreme drought conditions. That's the stuff painted in red. And you can see it's almost all of North Florida, almost all of the panhandle here, kind of splitting the gap just a little bit from Panama City to the west, where they have severe and moderate drought there as well. And there's portions of Central Florida, particularly towards Orlando and I-4, where it's moderate and severe drought, not necessarily extreme. But then that, extreme red coloring extends all the way down basically to, the bottom of Florida, extreme South Florida. So just a heads up through Alligator Alley, which has been really, really dry as well. So you got to be very cognizant and careful of that and just be aware. All right, so let's take a look at temperatures here across the big board and zooming on in sort of towards Florida. And you can see that we've got temperatures in the 70s. You head into South Florida, we're in the 80s. There is some cold air. We haven't seen a lot of this winter, where we've picked up the cold air essentially up in the northern plains. Minot's at 9, International Falls is at -5. Indianapolis at 18 degrees. So the cold air is there, but this is more zonal than we've seen in a while, where the cold air is where it should be. I mean, the Arctic air is where it should be. The colder air is where it should be. And then the warmer temperature is pretty much where they should be. So it's sort of a west to east alignment on, those cold temperatures, basically based on latitude. So, right across the board, you head up to the northern plains, and from, essentially Portland, Oregon, on over to Casper, it's essentially cold as well. This area from Billings, Montana, a little further southward in towards Casper and Denver, that has stayed warm all winter long. But we have seen, big dips here in that Arctic air that has pushed through St. Louis and even into Nashville and Columbus and to some extent even Atlanta. You're not seeing that here. So the Arctic air really in Canada, touching on International Falls on Minnesota and Wisconsin and North Dakota a little bit, but that's kind of where it should be this time of year as well. So just a heads up on that. We will be getting warmer, and we're essentially seeing that warm air, starting to make some moves, which is definitely good things. In fact, long-range temperature outlook over the next few days with that warm air looks like this as we head in towards the middle and latter portion of this week. Look at that. Friday, we may make a run for 87 degrees. Our average high is 76. So 87 in Tampa, that's going to be, close to 90 in Wauchula and Sebring, areas like that, perhaps even Lakeland, perhaps even Winter Haven making a run for near 90 degrees by Friday, and then backing off the throttle just a little bit Saturday and Sunday as well. So that's something that we're going to watch closely. But all in all, these numbers, whether we get all the way there or not, we're still in the mid, maybe even some upper 80s. And it looks like by Friday, that might be the peak and the pinnacle of some of those warmer temperatures as we roll into the end of the week and into the early portion of the weekend. So the warm stuff is here. Hopefully it doesn't come with the humidity. We shall see. Speaking of that, we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about the warm up. We'll show you on the upper air map where the warm air is, where it's moving to, who gets cold, who gets warm. And of course, we'll talk about what to do with all that extra snow in New England and some other issues on the opposite side of the spectrum, a little further out to the west as well. I'll have those details coming up on the other side of the break.
This autumn, give your home the upgrade it deserves. Save up to 20% during California Closet's Autumn Upgrade event, making it easier than ever to transform your space with our select finishes. Whether it's a walk-in closet, home office, pantry, or garage, our designs are about more than organization. They're about creating space for what belongs. We call it practical magic, expert design that feels effortless. Visit one of our 3 Tampa Bay showrooms or schedule your complimentary consultation today at CaliforniaClosetsTampaBay.com.
With a fresh new look and over 60 years of keeping Floridians comfortable, Cool Today is the name to trust for fast same-day service. Cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Our friendly expert technicians take the hassle out of home repair today. And Cool Today is here for you tomorrow, too. That's why we're introducing a parts and labor warranty on select AC systems for a lifetime. For cooling, plumbing, or electrical service, get the best from today and for years to come. Cool Today.
Windows are created and installed with different levels of quality. You need quality that can withstand the tropical climate. Our installers only install PGT custom windows and doors, so we are the go-to experts. Don't take my word for it. We have been named Best of Tampa Bay 3 years in a row, Reader's Choice in Sarasota 3 years in a row, and nationally recognized as Window and Door Dealer of the Year. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Give WeatherTight Windows a call today, and don't forget the cookies.
I was driving when a Ford pickup truck barreled into me from behind, sending me to the hospital.
I knew my husband was going to need an excellent attorney, so I called Dan Newland.
I'm so glad my wife called Dan. Dan really fought for me. He won my case and got me $650,000.
If you've been involved in a car accident, allow me to fight for you. Call me now at 813-888-8000.
Thanks, Dan, for winning my husband's case.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Running out of space, not in the grandstands, that's for sure. So you're looking at St. Pete for the Grand Prix, looking pretty good. Some folks out there already. It is gorgeous. The Firestone Grand Prix taking over St. Pete and ready to kick off here. We got some big races today. Today is the last day. The conditions are excellent. Let's go back to the weather maps here briefly here. I'll show you, aside from what it looks like in St. Pete, we'll take a look at Tampa and Clearwater as well. If you're heading to the beach today, that looks awesome. Look at that water in Clearwater. It looks beautiful. Tampa looking good as you head down towards the Hillsborough River and Channel side as well. All right, so if you're running out of space on land, some cities and towns are dumping snow into the water to get rid of it. Luke Hajaz has reports.
It's an unorthodox solution to a problem every town has right now: what to do with all this snow. Crews are loading the snow from downtown, dumping it at City Pier, then to its new home in the river. It's a process 10 towns and cities in the state are doing. New London is using 3 different contractors to get the job done, like Solo Industries, where Bobby Maynard works. How many trips have you done today?
I have no idea. Couldn't count.
Too many to count.
Too many to count.
DEP says it's letting this happen to help with flooding, drainage, and keeping the roads clear. When Public Works Director Brian Sear notified DEP the city would be doing this, he had to be specific on the process.
We can say where it came from, when it was moved, and then what was moved here.
You know, where else is it going to go? I'm okay with that.
Lakeisha Moon Lee owns Flavors of Life, a boutique on Bank Street downtown. That's where crews are focusing now.
The city did an amazing job clearing the roads, and now people can come to the shop very easily.
The snow would melt and wind up in the water one day anyway. Still, DEP calls this process a last resort.
Yeah, and it's kind of a last resort because, you know, obviously the roads are treated with chemicals and you don't want those chemicals in our waterways, but it's a good point. When it runs off and filters in the waterways anyway, it's going to get in there. So it's almost 6 1/2, 1/2 dozen the other. All right, everyone, weather headlines. We had some fog early this morning. Weather high pressure is building on in, which is nice, and we're going to see a nice warm up in the east. Both our temperatures and our humidities will increase here. So just keep this in mind. As the week rolls along, we're going to start to see our humidity increase. So it is a big ridge in the east. It is a trough in the west, and that means the western part of the United States will get cooler. However, in Arizona, there have been some issues. Lettuce farmers in Yuma, Arizona, are accelerating their harvest operations this season. Temperatures are approaching triple digits earlier than usual. It's been really warm out there, and that's pushing growers to adjust schedules and logistics to protect crop quality. Karina Bazarte has more.
It's lettuce harvest season. As temperatures rise, farmers already have a plan in place to keep lettuce looking fresh.
You know, the weather's been a little unusual this year, but the heat does impact our crops.
John Bolts is a co-owner of Desert Premium Farms in Yuma. His family has been in the farming industry for generations.
I'm a 5th generation to farm in the U.S. and 2nd generation to farm here in Yuma County.
The lettuce grown here ends up on dinner tables across the U.S. and Canada. This is how lettuce looks when it's ready.
You don't want the knife in the dirt, so
Okay.
you want to keep it above the dirt, yeah. And you can slide it down, and just give it a cut there. Sorry, my knife's not very sharp.
It's okay.
And then
It's
and you
time
can
for salad.
In each acre, there's about 60,000+ servings for an individual, so an individual salad.
But Bolt says this season, the weather has been different, and it's creating challenges. Last fall, Yuma received nearly 3 times the normal rainfall, and now the temperature is already in the 90s.
Now we're getting ready for harvest. It's been through some warmer temps than we normally would expect.
Bolt says it's speeding up the harvest. Farm workers having to start early as 4 a.m., and when the temperatures get closer to the triple digits, they'll start at night. It's a race against the heat.
And once we cut a head of lettuce to get it into the cold chain quickly, so we want to get it cut in the packaging in the field and to a local cooler. Here we're about a 35 to 45 minute drive into town, and so they need to get it cut, palletized, cartonized, palletized, and on a truck headed to Yuma fairly quickly.
All right, that was Karina Bazarte reporting. And, this season, it has been really warm generally out to the west. However, we do have a pattern change, and we'll dive into this right now. High pressure in place over the southeast, low pressure out to the west, and you've got this digging trough allowing the much cooler air from Canada to move a little further southward. So finally, cooler temperatures coming to Montana, coming to Utah, Colorado, and into Wyoming. But it looks like Arizona and New Mexico will stay on the warmer side under the influence of the warm air under this ridge of high pressure. So no relief for those lettuce farmers there in Arizona. What is also happening is that warm air sliding all the way under that ridge. So the cold air is displaced. So essentially that pocket of cold air is well to the north. So areas like Toronto, even into New York City, into Washington, D.C., point all the way to the south, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, you name it, up and down the eastern seaboard, we're talking about warmer temperatures. So we're going to be 10 degrees above where we should be over a good chunk of this week coming up. And some locations like New York, perhaps, a solid 30 degrees warmer than where they should be. So big blowtorch, southwestern winds, warm temperatures under this ridge of high pressure, but it is like a checkbook. One area of the country gets warm, another area of the country gets much cooler, and that's what you're seeing with the blue coloring. So everything that's blue there, and even light blue, or the multiple shades of blue, is essentially getting much cooler. So that's this whole area in through here getting much cooler. This area with the X's, I should be a football coach, X's and O's, right, is all going to warm up really nicely. So I would say half of the United States in the blue there, from Vancouver to Billings to Denver, the cooler air is there. As we move off in towards Saturday, you know what, things start to sort of level out, sort of split flow. So it allows a pocket of warm air to kind of ridge up, and then we get a little dip here in the jet, but still warm on the East Coast and still warm really on both coasts. So you have sort of this ridge trough, ridge pattern, sort of the prevailing North American pattern to some extent. So you've got ridges on both coasts allowing, warm temperatures in Northern California and warm temperatures in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore as well. All right, we're going to talk more about this when we come back. We're going to take another short break. You're watching Weather Impact Live. I am 10 Tampa Bay meteorologist James Gregorio. 11:20 right now. We'll be back after a couple minutes. Stay with us. We'll be back with much more.
This autumn, give your home the upgrade it deserves. Save up to 20% during California Closet's Autumn Upgrade event, making it easier than ever to transform your space with our select finishes. Whether it's a walk-in closet, home office, pantry, or garage, our designs are about more than organization. They're about creating space for what belongs. We call it practical magic, expert design that feels effortless. Visit one of our 3 Tampa Bay showrooms or schedule your complimentary consultation today at CaliforniaClosetsTampaBay.com.
I was driving when an 18-wheeler turned in front of me. I locked up my brakes, bam, slid dead into the truck. Bloody and hurt, I was loaded into an ambulance, and that's when I put out my phone and called attorney Dan Newton. Dan jumped right on it. He was in my corner the whole way. He fought the fight from beginning to end and got me $1 million.
Involved in a car accident? Call me now at 813-888-8000.
Dan, your awesome team deserves 6 stars. Thank you for winning my case.
With a fresh new look and over 60 years of keeping Floridians comfortable, Cool Today is the name to trust for fast same-day service. Cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Our friendly expert technicians take the hassle out of home repair today. And Cool Today is here for you tomorrow, too. That's why we're introducing a parts and labor warranty on select AC systems for a lifetime. For cooling, plumbing, or electrical service, get the best from today and for years to come. Cool Today.
Jeopardy is for everybody.
That's amazing. Oh, yeah.
With players just like you.
Paramedic, a retired teacher, psychiatrist.
I'm a little bit competitive.
That's the spirit.
Watch their victories.
We have a giant killer.
And heartbreaks.
Oh, no.
The next super champion could be anyone.
It's almost like a superhero origin story.
It could be you.
Oh, wow.
It's all happening on Jeopardy.
Jeopardy weeknights at 7:30, right here on 10 Tampa Bay.
All right, everyone, welcome back. You're taking a live look at the Grand Prix of St. Pete, the Firestone Grand Prix. And, oh, I just saw some cars go by. Get your motors running, get onto the highway, or in this case, the streets of St. Pete. So not exactly the highway, but a really cool venue, really great thing to see. Today's the last day. If you want to get out there, enjoy it. It's a fantastic day. So looking awesome there, the Firestone Grand Prix taking over a portion there of St. Pete. So if you want to get out there and check it out as well. All right, so what's not awesome, but does involve roadways and road closures, a live look at I-75 Alligator Alley and dealing with the smoke, perhaps. And that fire continues to rage along. At last check, about 30,000 acres have been burned there. So certainly something that is not good here. We're trying to get some containment on that. You're looking at our FDOT camera there. So hopefully that situation will get better. The National Preserve fire does continue to burn. And again, very little and low containment at last check. So we'll see if the containment has gotten better, if the percentages of containment have gotten better over the last several hours. But at last check, they were not great. All right, so let's go back to the maps. So let's talk about the pattern change. I think a lot of you, we've been spoiled here in Florida. We've had a couple cold snaps. We've had some chilly Florida cold type weather. Up in the Nature Coast, we've had legit cold starts, temperatures in the 20s and 30s. However, in the Tampa Bay area, it's been a little bit milder. We've been a little bit more lucky in that regard. However, all of us are going to warm up here, and here's why. The pattern change continues to shift. This is probably some of the closest upper air patterns we've seen to true zonal flow. That zonal flow is kind of that west to east flow, and often without those big ridges and troughs and dips and sort of the roller coaster ride of the jet stream. Often without that, the cold air is locked up where it should be. As you can see here, that Arctic air is well into Canada. The, cold air is a little further southward towards the U.S.-Canadian border, and the warm air is where it should be. However, in this case, the warm air really has, pushed hard north, and it's all warm. The southern subtropical jet really has done its thing and is overperforming a little bit. And this is a pretty good illustration of what I'm talking about. You have this, straight shot there on the northern jet of the cold air, and then you have essentially warm air all in here. So it's pretty west to east, although it's a lot of warm air surging into the nation's midsection as well. Humidity trend is going to increase here. Is the trend your friend? Well, I guess you like it warm and a little more humid. these are pretty legit dew point temperatures in the mid-60s. Excuse me. So that is, in fact, on the higher side, especially even for this time of year. All right, Futurecast here. You can see we've got a great Sunday on the way. Sunday fun day. I want to roll into the forecast here, so I don't want to leave you without your forecast information. And we are shaping up great here for today. High temperature, upper 70s to near 80 degrees, mostly sunny. It is, in fact, warmer moving in towards tonight. About 60 going to do it, partly cloudy and quiet as well. And then as we head in towards that 7-day forecast, looking good Monday, Tuesday, high temperatures, the lower 80s into Wednesday, about 85 going to do it on Wednesday. And then the heat's going to continue to build in, kind of, going back and forth. Is the warmest day Wednesday or is it Friday? Friday, I think inland we may make a run for well into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees on Friday. So definitely some warm stuff heading our way. Saturday, 86, going to do it as well. So the warmth is here. It looks like a meteorological spring